Today, on February 26, something has shifted in the spirit realm, and this is not just another date on the calendar. This is a marked day, a day circled in heaven long before you were even aware of it. The title you just read is not symbolic. It is not poetic exaggeration. It is a direct announcement. Today, on February 26, your Father in heaven has a secret he never told you while he was alive. Archangel Michael is revealing the location of your hidden inheritance. Open now. There is urgency in these words. There is weight in them. Because some revelations are not released randomly. They are released when the soul is ready to receive them. You may have carried questions for years. Questions about things left unsaid. Questions about silence. About decisions. About mysteries that followed you like a shadow. Maybe there were moments when you felt something was missing, as if a page of your story had been torn out before you could read it. And now, without warning, heaven steps in and says, "It is time." Why today? Why February 26th? Because divine timing does not operate on human clocks. There are days when the spiritual veil becomes thinner, when secrets that were sealed are unlocked, when what was once hidden becomes visible. This is not about coincidence. This is about appointment. February 26 carries a spiritual alignment that connects your past to your future. Your Father in heaven carried something, knowledge, intention, protection, perhaps even a burden, that he never revealed while he was alive. And it was not because you were unworthy. It was not because he did not trust you. It was because the revelation was not meant for that season. Some truths are too heavy for earlier chapters. Some inheritances must remain hidden until the heir matures. You may be asking yourself right now, what kind of secret could be so significant that it required intervention from Archangel Michael himself? Why would heaven send a warrior messenger to reveal something so personal? That is exactly why you must listen closely. Because this is not a small disclosure. This is not a sentimental memory being revisited. This is a strategic unveiling. Archangel Michael does not step forward casually. He steps forward when protection is required, when truth must be guarded, and when an inheritance is under spiritual watch. There is something about the word inheritance that triggers curiosity. Most minds immediately think of money, property, or possessions. But what if the hidden inheritance is greater than that? What if it involves authority, identity, a calling that had been waiting for activation? What if what was hidden from you was not taken away, but preserved for this exact day? Today is not about loss. It is about recovery. It is about alignment. It is about revelation that could shift the direction of your life. You might have felt recently that something was about to break open. A sense of anticipation you could not explain. A stirring in your spirit. A subtle pressure building beneath the surface. That was not imagination. That was preparation. Heaven does not release secrets into chaos. It releases them into readiness. And readiness is not about perfection. It is about positioning. Somewhere along your journey, you were shaped for this moment. Strengthened through trials. Refined through confusion. Hardened through disappointment. All of it with preparation for today. Because when a hidden inheritance is revealed, everything changes. Perspective changes. Identity changes. Decision change. And sometimes, the greatest inheritance is not what you receive externally, but what awakens internally. There are blessings that can only be accessed once you understand who you truly are. There are doors that only open when you stand in your rightful place. And there are secrets that can only be spoken when fear no longer controls you. Archangel Michael is stepping into this moment not just as a messenger, but as a guardian of divine timing. The revelation of a father's secret is sacred. It carries emotion. It carries history. It carries power. And heaven does not release sacred things lightly. This is why you are here right now. Not by accident. Not by scrolling randomly. You were drawn to this message because something inside you recognized the signal, recognized the urgency, recognized that February 26 was not meant to pass quietly. There is a difference between information and revelation. Information fills the mind. Revelation transforms the spirit. What is being released today is revelation. And once you hear it, you will not be able to unhear it. Once you see it, you will not be able to return to blindness. The location of your hidden inheritance is about to be uncovered, but before it is revealed, you must understand the weight of this moment. You must feel the significance of today, because when the door opens, hesitation can cause delay. So take a breath. Steady your heart. Recognize that something ordained is unfolding. The secret that was once locked in silence is about to be spoken. The inheritance that was hidden is about to be located. And February 26 will no longer be just a date. It will become the day everything began to make sense. There is a kind of silence that echoes louder than words. The silence of a father who carried something he never revealed while he was alive. That silence may have confused you. It may have wounded you. It may have left you wondering if there was something you were not meant to know. But today, on February 26th, heaven is reframing that silence. It was not neglect. It was not rejection. It was timing. Your Father in heaven had a secret. And secrets are not always born out of deception. Sometimes they are born out of protection. There are truths that, if spoken too early, can alter destiny in the wrong direction. There are inheritances that, if handed over prematurely, can be misused, misunderstood, or even stolen. What if his silence was not a withholding, but a shielding? What if what you perceived as absence was actually strategic covering? Think about this carefully. When someone knows the full weight of what belongs to you, they must also understand the forces that may try to take it. Not every blessing is celebrated by everyone. Not every inheritance is welcomed without resistance. Some inheritances attract attention, and not all attention is good. So the silence may have been necessary. It may have been the only way to preserve what had your name written on it. You may have sensed that there was more to the story. Perhaps there were subtle hints, conversations that stopped abruptly, documents that were never fully explained, decisions that felt incomplete. Or maybe it was not physical at all. Maybe it was spiritual. Maybe you always felt that something larger was attached to your life, something your father understood but could not articulate at the time. And now heaven is saying that the silence has served its purpose, because there comes a moment when preservation must turn into revelation, when guarding must shift into unveiling, and that moment is now. February 26th is not random. It is a divine checkpoint. The silence that once protected you is no longer needed in the same way. You had grown. You had endured. You have matured through circumstances that strengthen your spirit. You are not who you were years ago. And because of that growth, you are now capable of handling what was once too heavy. But here is the deeper layer. The silence did something inside you. It built resilience. It forced you to search. It made you ask questions. It developed discernment. And sometimes, the journey of not knowing prepares you better than immediate clarity ever could. If you had known everything from the beginning, would you have taken the same path? Would you have developed the same strength? Would you have become the person you are today? Heaven wastes nothing. Not confusion. Not pain. Not waiting. Even the silence had a purpose, and that purpose was to prepare you for the unveiling of your hidden inheritance. Because inheritance is not only about receiving, it is about stewardship. It is about readiness. It is about understanding the weight of what you carry. There is also something important you must understand. The silence may have protected you from external threats, but it also protected the inheritance from being contaminated by doubt. If something sacred is spoken into an environment that is not ready, it can be diminished. It can be questioned. It can be dismissed. But now, the environment has shifted. Your spirit is aligned. Your heart is open. And the timing is exact. If this message is stirring something deep within you, if you feel that this word is not accidental but directed, then I want you to respond in faith. Like this video as a sign that you are ready for revelation. Subscribe to this channel so you do not miss what heaven continues to release. Comment I receive as a declaration that you accept what is being unveiled. And share this message with someone who may also be standing on the edge of their own inheritance. When you engage, you are not just interacting with a video, you are aligning yourself with the moment. Because alignment matters. Agreement matters. Response matters. Silence had its season, but now response must take its place. The unveiling requires participation. It requires you to acknowledge that what was hidden is now being brought into light. You may still feel emotion rising as you think about your father. There may be unresolved feelings, questions that linger. But understand this, today is not about reopening wounds. It is about closing gaps. It is about clarity replacing confusion. It is about divine explanation stepping into places where human understanding failed. The silence is ending. The secret is approaching the surface. And what was never told while he was alive is about to be revealed by heaven itself. This is not about the past anymore. This is about what has been preserved for your future. Now the atmosphere shifts. The silence has been acknowledged. The timing has been established. And this is the moment when the messenger steps forward. Archangel Michael is not mentioned lightly. He does not appear in moments of casual inspiration. He stands at the intersection of revelation and protection. And today, on February 26, he steps into your story with authority. Understand this clearly. When Archangel Michael reveals something, it is because that revelation has been guarded. The inheritance connected to your name has not been abandoned, misplaced, or forgotten. It had been watched over, protected, preserved. There have been spiritual battles you never saw. There were moments when forces attempted to delay what belongs to you. There were seasons when confusion tried to bury clarity. But what is sealed by heaven cannot be erased by opposition. Archangel Michael's presence signals that this is not only about comfort, it is about activation. The secret your father carried was not merely emotional. It was strategic. It involved a positioning. It involved identity. It involved something that required you to grow into it before you could step into it. And now, the guardian of divine assignments is announcing that the waiting period has reached its conclusion. This inheritance is deeper than finances. It is deeper than property. It is tied to spiritual authority, to generational purpose, to a mantle that was meant to rest on your life. While you were navigating ordinary days, something extraordinary was being kept in reserve. While you questioned delays, heaven was building capacity inside you. While you wondered why certain doors closed, Other doors were being secured until the appointed time. Archangel Michael reveals that the location of your hidden inheritance is not a physical vault or a forgotten document. It is a position, a spiritual alignment, a place of authority that you must step into intentionally. The inheritance has been waiting for you to recognize who you are. Because inheritance is not chased, it is claimed by identity. There may have been moments when you felt unqualified, moments when you doubted your strength, moments when you questioned whether you were capable of carrying something significant. But those very struggles were training grounds. The battles refined you. The setbacks strengthened you. The disappointments deepened your discernment. And now, the warrior messenger declares that you are no longer in preparation. You are in transition. The unveiling begins with awareness. You must first accept that something has been divinely set aside for you, not because of perfection, not because of flawless decisions, but because of God, because of assignment, because of a lineage that extends beyond what you can see with natural eyes. There is also a warning woven into this revelation. When inheritance is activated, responsibility increases, clarity increases, and resistance may briefly intensify. But you are not stepping into this alone. The same authority that guarded your inheritance will guard you as you walk into it. Protection accompanies revelation. You may feel something shifting inside you even now, a mixture of awe and gravity. Realization that this is not entertainment, it is encounter. February 26 becomes the day you stop seeing yourself as overlooked and start recognizing yourself as appointed. The hidden inheritance was never a sign of exclusion. It was evidence of divine timing. And now, as this truth settles in your spirit, receive this blessing. Type "My inheritance" is activated in the comments if this resonates with you. Blessing code 641 is now activated over your life. As you declare it, may protection surround your steps. May clarity flood your decisions. May every delay that once confused you now reveal its purpose. Let this number mark the transition from waiting to walking. Before we move further, understand this. What is about to be revealed next will challenge the way you have interpreted your past. Pieces will begin to connect. Patterns will start to make sense. And you will see that what looked like randomness was orchestration. Hold this revelation carefully, because what comes next shifts everything you thought you knew about where your inheritance has been hidden. You will be glad you are here for what is about to unfold. As this revelation settles into your heart, I need to speak directly to those who feel the weight of this moment. When you sow into this mission, you are not supporting a platform. You are helping light reach souls who are standing at the edge of their own hidden inheritance. Scripture declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And this is not distant history. It is God speaking to you now, inviting you into a living covenant of sowing and reaping. When you release a super thanks, step into membership, or send a seed through the PayPal link in the description or the PayPal QR code on your screen, you are planting into fertile ground where revelation flows like oil. Let this be your first-person declaration. I choose to be a vessel that carries this light further. This is not a donation. It is a prophetic action. It is a seed cast into soil that produces transformation in lives you may never physically meet. As you give, may open heavens respond. May increase find you. May protection multiply around your household. Step into this moment of obedience. Sow the seed. Activate the harvest. Now that Archangel Michael has stepped forward and the activation has begun, we must go deeper into the heart of this revelation. The question echoing in your spirit is clear. What exactly is this hidden inheritance? If it is not merely a bank account, a property deed, or something material locked away in a physical location, then what has been guarded so intensely that heaven itself had to announce its unveiling on February 26th? The answer reaches further than the surface. Your hidden inheritance is first and foremost your confirmed identity in the eyes of heaven. Before anything tangible could ever be released into your hands, something intangible had to be secured within your spirit. Identity is the foundation of inheritance. Without knowing who you are, you would not recognize what belongs to you. Without understanding your position, you could mishandle what was preserved. For years, you may have searched for affirmation and human approval. You may have looked for signs that you were chosen, capable, or significant. There were moments when you questioned your path because it did not look like others around you. Perhaps doors opened quickly for them while yours seemed delayed. Perhaps recognition bypassed you while you labored quietly. But what you did not see was that your foundation was being reinforced in hidden places. When a structure is meant to carry weight, the foundation must go deeper than anyone realizes. Your Father in heaven understood that revelation without preparation can become destruction. If you had received certain knowledge too early, it might have inflated pride or triggered fear. It might have altered your motivations or shifted your focus away from growth. So the inheritance was concealed not as a punishment, but as protection. Silence became a shield. Delay became a teacher. This inheritance includes spiritual authority. Not loud authority that demands attention, but quiet authority that shifts atmospheres. Have you ever noticed that when you enter certain environments, something changes? Attention eases where truth surfaces, where hidden motives become exposed. That is not coincidence. That is inherited influence. You carry weight in unseen realms. Decisions around you are affected by your presence more than you realize. There is also generational significance woven into this inheritance. Some inheritances are not about gaining something new, but about breaking something old. Patterns that ran through your family line may have confronted you intensely. Cycles of fear, limitation, instability, where silence may have tried to repeat themselves through your life. But you resisted. Even when you did not understand why the resistance was so strong, you felt compelled to choose differently. That is part of the inheritance. You were positioned as a turning point. In addition, there are tangible manifestations connected to this revelation. Opportunities will begin aligning with your clarified identity. Resources may appear in unexpected ways. Partnerships may form that feel divinely orchestrated rather than randomly assembled. When spiritual alignment locks into place, material alignment often follows, not as a reward for performance, but as confirmation of position. The hidden inheritance had been waiting in your obedience. Every time you chose integrity over compromise, you moved closer. Every time you remained faithful in seasons where recognition was absent, you strengthened your capacity. Every time you endured misunderstanding without allowing bitterness to take root, you proved readiness. These moments were not wasted. They were positioning you at the doorway of something preserved. Here is the deeper revelation. The location of your inheritance has always been connected to your mindset. It has been waiting in the space where belief and courage intersect. If you continue to see yourself through the lens of rejection or delay, you will stand outside what is already assigned to you. But when you see yourself as appointed, preserved, and prepared, you begin to step into alignment. You cannot inherit what you refuse to identify with. If you secretly believe you are unworthy, you will unconsciously sabotage access. If you believe you were overlooked, you will hesitate at doors meant for you. That is why February 26th is not just about external revelation. It is about internal transformation. Your thinking must shift before your inheritance fully manifests. There is humility required in this moment. Inheritance is not something you force into existence. It is something you receive with reverence. You do not manipulate heaven's timing. You align with it. You accept that what was hidden had purpose. You acknowledge that delay developed depth. And you step forward without arrogance, but with confidence rooted in divine confirmation. As this understanding settles into your spirit, something stabilizes inside you. The need to compare fades. The urgency to prove yourself diminishes. You begin to move with quiet assurance. Decisions become less reactive and more intentional. Boundaries become clearer. Vision becomes sharper. You no longer chase what was never assigned to you, because you recognize that what is yours cannot be taken. February 26 marks the unveiling, but the embodiment of inheritance unfolds daily. This is not a one-day event. It is a transition into a new posture. The inheritance becomes visible as you live aligned. It grows stronger as you walk confidently. It expands as you steward it faithfully. And yet, there is still another layer waiting to be revealed. Identity is confirmed. Authority is acknowledged. Generational purpose is recognized. But where exactly has this inheritance been waiting? What is the precise location Archangel Michael is about to expose? The answer will require courage, because stepping into location demands movement. Now we arrive at the question that has been building since the beginning of this message. Where exactly is the location of your hidden inheritance? If it is not buried in soil, locked inside a vault, or hidden behind a legal document, then where has it been waiting all this time? Archangel Michael does not reveal mysteries to create suspense without substance. The location is real. The access point is clear. But it may not look the way you expected. The location of your hidden inheritance is the position you once avoided. Yes, it hath been waiting in the place you felt unqualified to occupy. The opportunity you almost walked away from. The responsibility that intimidated you. A calling that felt too large for your comfort zone. Your inheritance hath been resting at the edge of your courage. For years you may have mistaken intimidation for disqualification. When a door appeared that seemed too big, too demanding, too stretching, you assumed it was not meant for you. But what if the discomfort was the signal? What if the very place that made you question yourself was the exact location heaven had prepared? Archangel Michael reveals that the inheritance was not hidden far away. It was hidden behind fear. Not sinful fear, but a human hesitation. The kind that whispers, "You are not ready." The kind that reminds you of past mistakes. The kind that magnifies your weaknesses while minimizing your growth. That voice has been standing between you and the location. Think about the patterns of your life. Have there been repeated invitations toward leadership? Repeated nudges toward a specific direction? Recurring themes in your dreams or desires? Those patterns are not random. They are coordinates. They are markers pointing to the place where your inheritance has been stationed. A location is alignment with your assignment. You cannot access it while trying to blend into spaces that shrink you. You cannot step into it while continuing to play small. The inheritance requires expansion. It requires you to stand in rooms where your voice matters. It requires you to accept visibility. For some of you, that visibility is public. For others, it is influence within your family, your community, or your workplace. But in every case, it demands ownership. There were moments in your past when you felt strongly about taking a step forward, but something held you back. Maybe it was fear of failure. Maybe it was fear of judgment. Maybe it was loyalty to old versions of yourself that no longer fit who you were becoming. And each time you stepped back, the inheritance remained in waiting. Not withdrawn, not reassigned, just waiting. February 26th is the day that waiting ends. Archangel Michael reveals that the location is not a secret map. It is a decision. A decision to move where you once hesitated. A decision to respond where you once delayed. A decision to believe where you once doubted. The inheritance is activated when movement replaces uncertainty. There is also a relational dimension to this location. Some of you have been called to reconcile conversations, to restore broken bridges, or to confront truths that were avoided. Your inheritance is tied to healing that unlocks forward motion. You cannot carry new authority while dragging unresolved weight. The location may require courage to speak, courage to forgive, or courage to release. And there is a spiritual posture required. The inheritance sits at the intersection of obedience and faith. It will not be accessed through manipulation or striving. It is entered through surrender. When you say, yes, even if I feel stretched, you cross the threshold. When you declare, I trust what heaven has confirmed, the door begins to open. The enemy attempted to disguise the location by making it look ordinary. Sometimes it appears as a simple opportunity, a new responsibility, a shift in environment. But what seems ordinary carried extraordinary consequence. That is why discernment matters. That is why this revelation had to come with clarity. You may be realizing now that the location has been near you for a long time. It may have been disguised as inconvenience. It may have looked like extra work. It may have appeared as something others avoided. But hidden inside that space is growth, influence, and expansion prepared specifically for you. The inheritance does not move toward you. You move toward it. This is the moment to examine where you have felt called but cautious, where you sensed potential but retreated, where you knew there was more but settled for less. That place is not coincidence. It is instruction. As you step into that position, protection accompanies you. Archangel Michael's role does not end with revelation. Protection continues as you advance. You are not stepping into this blindly. You are stepping into it backed by divine authority. The location is clear now. It is the place where your courage meets your calling. It is the space where you stop shrinking and start standing. It is the decision you make today to walk fully in what has been preserved. And as you prepare to move, understand this. The next revelation will expose why the resistance around your life intensified whenever you approached this position. Because opposition often reveals proximity. Now that the location has been revealed, another question rises with intensity. If this inheritance has always been positioned at the edge of your courage, why has it felt so difficult to step into it? Why did resistance increase every time you moved closer? Why did confusion, delay, or unexpected obstacles appear whenever you sensed momentum building? Because opposition often reveals proximity. The closer you moved toward your true position, the more pressure you felt. Not because you were on the wrong path, but because you were nearing something valuable. The enemy does not waste energy attacking what has no purpose. Resistance is a signal. It indicates that something significant is within reach. Think back over your life carefully. Were there moments when you felt clarity about a next step, and suddenly circumstances shifted? Unexpected distractions arose. Doubt intensified. Relationships became strained. Finances tightened. Opportunities seemed to evaporate at the last minute. It felt like a pattern, almost strategic. That was not coincidence. That was interference. Your hidden inheritance has always been guarded by heaven, but it has also been targeted by opposition. Not because it can be stolen, but because it can be delayed. Delay is a subtle weapon. It does not always destroy destiny, but it attempts to exhaust the person assigned to it. If you grow tired enough, discouraged enough, distracted enough, you may choose to settle for less than what was prepared. There were seasons when fatigue made you question everything, when you wondered if you had misheard direction, when you asked yourself if stepping back would be easier than pressing forward. And in those moments, the inheritance remained at the location, waiting patiently for your return. The resistance was not proof of failure. It was confirmation of value. There is also a generational layer to this resistance. When one person in a lineage steps toward transformation, unseen forces react. Patterns that operated quietly for decades begin to shake. Cycles of limitation sense interruption. When you choose growth, you challenge history. And challenge triggers tension. But tension does not mean retreat. It means breakthrough is near. Archangel Michael's involvement is not accidental. Where there is heightened resistance, there must be heightened protection. The guardian steps forward not only to reveal the inheritance, but to reinforce your confidence. You are not imagining the battle. You are not exaggerating the struggle. You were navigating unseen opposition while still moving forward. That alone proves strength you may not have acknowledged. Consider how often discouragement tried to silence you. How frequently comparison attempted to weaken your confidence. How many times fear whispered that you were too late, too inexperienced, or too flawed. Those whispers were not random thoughts. They were attempts to keep you at a distance from your location. But here is the truth that changes everything. The resistance you survived has already qualified you. Every obstacle refined your discernment. Every delay strengthened your patience. Every disappointment deepened your resilience. You are not approaching the inheritance as the same person who first sensed it years ago. You are approaching it forged, sharpened, stabilized. There were also distractions strategically placed in your path. Opportunities that looked appealing but were slightly misaligned. Relationships that consumed time but drained vision. Commitments that kept you busy but not fulfilled. Distraction is often more dangerous than direct attack because it feels productive while quietly pulling you away from your assignment. Yet even in distraction, there was preservation. Some doors closed abruptly. Some plans collapsed unexpectedly. Some connections faded without explanation. At the time, it felt like loss. Now you see it differently. What looked like rejection was redirection. What felt like failure was filtering. You were being steered back toward the true location. Resistance intensified whenever you approached alignment because alignment activates impact. And impact disrupts stagnation. When you step fully into your inherited position, you influence more than your own life. You shift environments. You inspire courage in others. You interrupt negative cycles. You create ripple effects. The enemy sensed that ripple effect before you did. That is why the pressure felt personal. That is why some battles seemed disproportionate to the situation. But now you understand. The intensity of opposition was directly connected to the magnitude of inheritance. And here is the powerful realization. You are still here. Despite discouragement, you did not abandon the journey. Despite confusion, you continued seeking clarity. Despite fatigue, you kept moving in small steps. That persistence was not accidental. It was evidence that something inside you recognized the value of what awaited. February 26 marks the shift from resistance to advancement. The inheritance has not diminished because of delay. It has not weakened because of struggle. If anything, it has become more aligned with who you are now. Resistance phase is ending. The advancement phase is beginning. But before full possession takes place, you must recognize the signs that have always indicated you were chosen for this. Because the next revelation will confirm that this was never random. The patterns in your life were signals all along. Now it is time to recognize what has been quietly following you your entire life, the signs. Because this inheritance was never random, and neither was your journey toward it. Long before February 26th arrived, there were indicators woven into your story. Subtle confirmations, repeated patterns, unexplainable protections. These were not coincidences. They were signals that you were always meant to receive what had been preserved. First, consider the unusual protection over your life. Think back to moments when situations could have ended very differently. Times when you narrowly avoided harm. Decisions you almost made that would have altered your path in damaging ways. Accidents that did not happen. Opportunities that fell through, only to later reveal hidden danger. You may have called it luck at the time, but it was not luck. It was preservation. Inheritance requires protection, and you were guarded because something valuable was attached to your future. Second, examine the persistent sense that you were meant for more. Even in ordinary seasons, there was an internal knowing that your story was not average. You could not always articulate it, but you felt it. A dissatisfaction with settling, a resistance to mediocrity, and deep awareness that your life carried weight beyond what others could see. That awareness was not arrogance. It was alignment trying to surface. There were also repeated themes in your life. Perhaps you were constantly placed in leadership roles, even when you did not volunteer. People looked to you for guidance. Responsibility seemed to find you. Or maybe you were repeatedly drawn to healing, helping, building, or creating. Patterns are for a reason. They are clues pointing to inherited purpose. Another sign was the intensity of your battles. Some of you faced challenges that seemed disproportionate to your age or stage in life. Heavy burdens early on. Responsibilities you were not fully prepared for. Emotional complexities that require maturity beyond your years. It may have felt unfair, but intensity often marks destiny. The grayer the inheritance, the deeper the preparation. You may have also experienced seasons of isolation, times when you felt different, misunderstood, or separate from the crowd. While others seemed to move in groups, you often walked alone. Isolation can feel like rejection, but it is often refinement. When inheritance carries authority, character must be shaped in quiet places. Isolation teaches you to hear clearly without noise. It builds internal strength that applause cannot create. There were dreams too, both literal and figurative. Dreams that felt vivid. Impressions that lingered long after waking. Aspirations that refused to disappear, even when circumstances contradicted them. Some dreams may have been delayed. Others may have seemed unrealistic. Yet they persisted. Persistent vision is rarely accidental. It is a compass. Consider also how you respond to injustice or limitation. Does something inside you rise when you see unfairness? Do you feel compelled to challenge stagnation or negativity? That internal reaction is not random emotion. It is inherited conviction. It reveals that you were not meant to tolerate environments that suppress growth. You were designed to elevate them. Another powerful sign is endurance. Despite everything you faced, you are still standing. There were moments when quitting seemed easier, when silence seemed safer, when blending in seemed less exhausting. But something inside you refused to surrender. That resilience is evidence. It shows that the inheritance was not a distant possibility. It was an internal anchor pulling you forward. Even the timing of this message is a sign. Out of all the days, out of all the moments, you are hearing this on February 26th. That alignment is not accidental. When confirmation meets readiness, revelation follows. And readiness is not about perfection. It is about openness. You may be realizing now that the signs were always present. They were woven into your strengths, your struggles, your desires, and your endurance. You were never wandering aimlessly. Even when you felt uncertain, direction was guiding you beneath the surface. Here is the deeper truth. Signs do not force movement, they invite it. They confirm what is possible, but you must choose to step into it. Recognition is the bridge between potential and possession. Now that you see the patterns, you cannot unsee them. Now that you understand the protection, you cannot dismiss it. The inheritance has been calling you through experiences, not just words. Through preservation, not just promises. Through resilience, not just revelation. And as these signs settle into your awareness, the next phase becomes clear. Recognition leads to activation. Awareness must become action. Because knowing you were chosen is powerful, but stepping into what you were chosen for is transformational. The moment of activation is closer than you think. This is the activation moment. Everything that hath been revealed, your identity, your position, the resistance, the signs, now converges into a single point of decision. February 26th is not only about awareness. It is about response. Revelation without response remains incomplete. The inheritance had been confirmed. The location had been exposed. The protection had been declared. Now the question is simple. Will you step forward? Activation begins internally before it manifests externally. You must make a deliberate shift in posture. No longer approaching life as someone waiting for permission, but as someone who understands assignment. No longer shrinking in environments that require your voice, but standing with clarity. The inheritance is not activated by emotion alone. It is activated by agreement. Agreement with what heaven has spoken. There is power in declaration. Words align your spirit with your movement. When you speak in agreement with divine timing, you close the gap between doubt and action. This is not about empty affirmations. It is about conscious alignment. Saying, I accept what has been preserved for me. I step into the position prepared for me. I release hesitation. When declaration meets faith, activation begins. But activation also requires release. You cannot carry old narratives into new territory. If you still see yourself as overlooked, you will sabotage opportunity. If you cling to past disappointments, you will hesitate at open doors. Some of you must release comparison. Others must release guilt. Some must release fear of visibility. The inheritance does not coexist with self-sabotage. It requires clean hands and a clear mind. There may also be practical steps tied to your activation. Conversations that need to happen. Applications that need to be submitted. Skills that need refining. Boundaries that need establishing. Activation is spiritual, but it is not passive. Faith moves. Courage acts. Alignment produces tangible shifts. Archangel Michael's presence in this message reminds you that protection accompanies movement. You are not stepping into uncertainty alone. The same authority that guarded your inheritance stands with you as you walk into it. That awareness should replace hesitation with confidence. Fear may whisper, but protection speaks louder. Now receive this blessing as you stand at this threshold. Type "I step forward" in the comments as your declaration of activation. Blessing code 892 is now released over your transition. As you declare it, may hesitation dissolve. May clarity sharpen. May doors respond to your movement. Let this number mark the day you moved from awareness into embodiment. There is something else you must understand. Activation does not always feel dramatic. Sometimes it feels quiet. A calm resolve replacing restless doubt. A steady confidence rising where anxiety once lived. Do not look only for fireworks. Look for firmness. Look for conviction settling deep within you. That is activation taking root. As you move, expect subtle confirmations. Unexpected encouragement. Timely conversations. Small opportunities that align perfectly. Do not dismiss small beginnings. Inheritance often unfolds progressively. What begins as a step becomes momentum. What begins as courage becomes authority. You may also notice resistance attempting one final whisper. Doubt may try to resurface. Old insecurities may attempt to remind you of previous failures. But this time, you respond differently. This time, you recognize the pattern. You identify the distraction. And you move anyway. Hold on to this truth carefully. What you do next determines the visibility of what has already been assigned. The inheritance exists. The protection is present. The location is known. But possession requires participation. And before we move forward, hear this deeply. The next revelation will show you why this moment is more urgent than you realize. Why delay could shift timing. Why hesitation could extend waiting. What comes next will challenge you to treat this activation not as inspiration, but as divine appointment. You will be grateful you stayed to understand the urgency that follows. As you stand in this activation, understand that this mission is not sustained by words alone. It is sustained by obedience. When you sow into this work through super thanks, membership, or through the PayPal link in the description, or the PayPal QR code on your screen, you are planting seeds into soil that carries revelation to thousands who are still searching. The word declares that when you give, it returns pressed down and overflowing, and that promise is alive and speaking over you now. Let this be your declaration. I choose to fuel the fire that awakens hidden inheritances. Your giving is not a transaction. It is a prophetic act that expands light. As you release your seed, may provision pursue you. May protection rest upon your household. May increase meet you in unexpected ways. Do not delay your obedience. So now, activate harvest. Now we stand at the edge of something that cannot be ignored. Activation has taken place in your spirit. Recognition has settled into your understanding. The location of your hidden inheritance has been revealed. But here is the truth you must face with clarity. Revelation creates responsibility. February 26th is not simply a day of awareness. It is a day of decision. There are divine windows in life. Windows are not permanent structures. They are openings. They are moments when access is easier, when alignment is heightened, when movement carries unusual momentum. And while inheritance itself is preserved, the timing of manifestation responds to obedience. When heaven signals that it is time, hesitation becomes costly, not because the blessing disappears, but because delay extends the journey. You have already spent years in preparation. Think about it. The lessons, the disappointments, the growth seasons, the refining moments. Nothing was accidental. You were being strengthened for capacity. Now capacity has met confirmation. But confirmation must be met with courage. If you hesitate now, something subtle begins to happen. That starts rebuilding narratives that were just dismantled. Old insecurities attempt to whisper again. Fear tries to renegotiate the confidence that was awakened in you. And while the inheritance remains yours, your experience of it becomes postponed. Delay is rarely dramatic. It is quiet. It feels harmless, but it stretches timelines that did not need stretching. This is why urgency matters. Urgency does not mean anxiety. It does not mean rushing without wisdom. It means recognizing that divine timing is active and choosing to align while grace is flowing. There are moments when momentum is available, when doors are lighter to push, when conversations are easier to initiate, when clarity is sharper than usual. February 26 carries that momentum for you. You already sense what step is required. It has been forming quietly in your thoughts as you listen. A decision you have postponed. An opportunity you nearly dismissed. A responsibility you felt unqualified to accept. A boundary you know must be set. A risk you know must be taken. The step is not hidden from you. It has been waiting for your agreement. The longer you postpone it, the heavier it feels. But the moment you act, something shifts. Weight lifts. Energy changes. Confidence rises. Movement generates confirmation. Action invites reinforcement. You do not need every detail mapped out before you move. You need obedience to the next step. And here is something critical. Your movement does not affect you alone. When you step into your inheritance, you create ripple effects. Someone watching you gains courage. Someone connected to you experiences freedom. A future generation benefits from your decision. Delay does not just slow your progress, it slows impact. You have waited for perfect readiness before. You have told yourself that you would move when confidence felt complete. But confidence is rarely complete before action. It grows because of action. If you wait for flawless certainty, you may remain stationary while opportunity stands open. This is your window. Treat it with seriousness. Guard it from distraction. After revelation often comes interference. Sudden busyness. Unexpected emotional shifts. Small inconveniences that feel large. These are subtle attempts to dilute urgency. Protect your clarity. Write down the step you must take. Commit to a timeline. Refuse to let this day fade into routine memory. If this message has awakened something real in you, then seal this moment with outward agreement. Like this video as a sign that you refuse to let the window pass. Subscribe to this channel so you remain aligned with ongoing revelation and strengthening. Share this message with someone who had been hesitating at their own threshold. And comment "I move now" as a declaration that you are stepping into what has been preserved. Engagement is not just digital interaction. It is public agreement with divine timing. You must understand, inheritance is secure, but manifestation accelerates through obedience. Some people circle what was meant to be entered quickly because they analyze instead of act. You are not called to circle. You are called to advance. Feel the urgency as privilege, not pressure. Heaven is inviting you into acceleration. February 26 becomes a marker in your life. A day you shifted from contemplation to commitment. The day silence fully ended and motion began. The day you stopped asking "what if?" and started declaring "I will." And be prepared, because once you move, change follows. Environments will adjust. Relationships may recalibrate. New responsibilities will emerge. What shifts after today will confirm that this moment was not emotional hype but divine appointment. The next revelation will show you exactly what changes once you step forward, and how to navigate the transformation with strength and clarity. Once you step forward, Once you cross the invisible line between hesitation and obedience, everything begins to respond. Not all at once, not in chaos, but in alignment. February 26th becomes more than a date. It becomes a dividing line in your story. The line between preparation and possession. The line between questioning and knowing. The line between waiting and walking. The first change will not be external. It will be internal. For a long time, there has been tension inside you. A subtle frustration you could not fully explain. You felt called but not confirmed. Capable but not positioned. Ready but not released. The tension was a pressure of inheritance waiting for activation. Now that you have moved it, that pressure begins to dissolve. Peace settles where restlessness once lived. You will notice that your thoughts stabilize. The constant second-guessing begins to quiet. Decisions that once felt overwhelming now feel manageable. You stop replaying conversations in your mind. You stop overanalyzing every opportunity. There is a new steadiness in you. This steadiness is not arrogance. It is identity anchored in confirmation. Your posture changes. You carry yourself differently, not in pride, but in awareness. You no longer enter rooms wondering if you belong. You enter knowing you were sent. That internal shift alone alters outcomes. People respond to certainty. Opportunities respond to clarity. Environments respond to authority that does not need to announce itself loudly. And the external shifts begin. Doors that once seemed resistant begin to open with less effort. Conversations that previously stalled begin to flow naturally. You may receive unexpected invitations, collaborations, responsibilities, or opportunities that align almost too perfectly with your strengths. Do not dismiss these as coincidence. Acceleration often feels sudden, but it is actually preparation meeting permission. Relationships may recalibrate. Some people will immediately sense your shift and celebrate it. Others may feel unsettled. Growth exposes dynamics that were comfortable when you were uncertain but become strained when you are confident. This is not something to fear. It is refinement. When inheritance manifests, alignment becomes necessary in every area. You may find yourself releasing certain conversations that drain you. You may set boundaries where previously you tolerated overextension. You may decline opportunities that once would have impressed you but no longer align with your assignment. These are signs of maturity. Inheritance requires stewardship, and stewardship demands clarity about where your energy belongs. Provision will begin to align as well. This does not always mean instant financial overflow, but it does mean strategic supply. Needs met in precise timing. Resources appearing when required. Connections forming that support your next level. When you move in obedience, you often find that what you need was already positioned to meet you halfway. Emotionally, something profound happens. The silence of your father no longer feels like abandonment. It feels like strategy. The questions that haunted you lose their sharpness. Even if you never receive every detailed explanation, you receive something greater, peace. Peace that tells you nothing was wasted. Peace that assures you the delay had purpose. Peace that confirms the secret was not meant to wound you, but to protect you. You may also experience heightened discernment. Situations that once confused you now appear obvious. You sense misalignment faster. You recognize opportunity more clearly. Your intuition sharpens. This is inherited authority unfolding. When you occupy your rightful position, perception increases. Momentum builds quietly at first. Small confirmations stack upon each other. One answered prayer, one aligned meeting, one breakthrough conversation, then another. then another. Soon you realize you are no longer pushing everything uphill. Movement feels supported. Progress feels natural, but remain grounded. Acceleration requires humility. The same obedience that opened the door must continue guiding your steps. Do not outrun wisdom. Do not allow excitement to replace discernment. Stay anchored in gratitude. Remember the years of preparation that brought you here. You may look back months from now and recognize that February 26 was not just symbolic, it was transformational. Not because everything changed overnight, but because you changed. And when you changed, your world adjusted around you. The hidden inheritance was never just about possession. It was about transformation. It was about becoming the person capable of carrying what was preserved. And now, as change unfolds around you, one final layer remains. Because understanding and stepping forward are powerful, but emotional healing completes the journey. The next revelation will speak directly to your heart. It will address the lingering emotions connected to what was never spoken, and it will show you how closure unlocks even deeper freedom. Now we arrive at the most delicate part of this entire journey, the healing of the heart. You have heard about the inheritance. You have understood the location. You have recognized the resistance and stepped into activation. You have even begun to see change unfolding around you. But none of that reaches its full power unless the emotional weight connected to your father's secret is addressed. Because silence leaves an imprint. Even when you grow stronger, even when you achieve success, even when revelation comes, the heart remembers what it did not understand. There may have been quiet questions that followed you for years. Why was this never explained? Why did it feel like something was withheld? Why did I sense there was more beneath the surface? Those questions may not have been loud, but they were persistent. And unanswered questions can shape identity if left untouched. Perhaps you told yourself a story to fill the gap. Maybe you wondered if you were not ready, not trusted, not included. Maybe you concluded that silence meant distance, that withholding meant doubt. And even if you never voiced these thoughts, they may have influenced how you saw yourself. But now, with a revelation of timing and protection, something begins to untangle. When you understand that the secret was guarded for preservation rather than hidden for rejection, the meaning changes. The narrative shifts. What once felt personal becomes purposeful. What once felt confusing becomes strategic. And that shift is where healing begins. Healing does not always come through detailed explanations. You may never know every conversation your father had in private. You may never understand every reason behind every decision. But healing often comes through perspective. Through realizing that the silence was not designed to diminish you, but to protect the weight of what you were meant to carry. Your Father in heaven saw a version of you that had not yet fully formed. He saw capacity that required maturity. He saw authority that required humility. He saw strength that required refinement. And because of that vision, he guarded the inheritance until the right season. Now that season has arrived. This realization can stir emotion. You may feel tears rising, not necessarily from pain, but from release. There is a difference. Pain feels heavy and sharp. Release feels soft and free. It is the feeling of setting something down that you have carried too long. Allow that release. It is sacred. There may also be forgiveness required, not because harm was intentional, but because confusion still left a mark. Forgiveness in this context is not about excusing every detail. It is about freeing your own heart from lingering tension. It is about saying, I no longer need to hold this as evidence of lack. It is about choosing peace over interpretation. Silence can create stories in the heart that were never true. But revelation replaces assumption with understanding. You may now see that if the secret had been revealed too early, it might have overwhelmed you. It might have altered your path prematurely. It might have exposed you to pressures you were not ready to manage. What once felt like exclusion was actually protection from premature exposure. There is also generational healing happening here. If silence was a pattern in your family, important truths avoided, emotions unspoken, intentions misunderstood, you are breaking that cycle. You are becoming someone who balances wisdom with openness. Someone who understands timing but does not operate in fear. Someone who can carry truth responsibly and release it when appropriate. A transformation matters. When your heart heals, your leadership changes. Your relationships deepen. Your communication softens without losing strength. You stop reacting from old wounds and start responding from clarity. Emotional wholeness stabilizes spiritual authority. You may even notice that memories begin to feel different. Moments that once triggered frustration now feel instructive. You begin to see your father not only as a figure who withheld, but as someone navigating his own limitations while trying to protect something significant. Compassion replaces criticism. Gratitude replaces confusion. And gratitude is powerful. Gratitude realigns perspective. It allows you to say, even what I did not understand served a purpose. It allows you to see that nothing was random. Nothing was careless. Nothing was wasted. Even the silence contributed to your strength. February 26th becomes a day of reconciliation, not only between you and the inheritance, but between you and your past. The gap closes. The tension dissolves. The weight lifts. You no longer need to search backward for missing pieces. You have clarity now. You have confirmation now. You have peace now. And peace is the final evidence that healing has taken root. With your heart aligned, your identity secure, your inheritance activated, and your movement underway, there is only one final step remaining. A declaration that seals everything. A blessing that confirms your inheritance is not only revealed, but secured. This is the final confirmation. Today, on February 26, what was once hidden has been revealed. What was once silent have been spoken. What was once delayed have been aligned. And now you stand at the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, with clarity, with authority, and with peace. Your inheritance is secure, not fragile, not uncertain, not dependent on perfect performance. It was guarded before you understood it. It was preserved while you questioned it. It was protected while you matured into it. And now, it is activated as you step fully into your rightful position. Look at how far this journey has brought you. You began with mystery, a secret never spoken while your father was alive, a question mark hovering over your past. But now you see that the silence was not absence, it was strategy. The delay was not denial, it was development. The resistance was not rejection, it was confirmation. February 26th will no longer be an ordinary date in your memory. It will be the marker of alignment. The day you stopped doubting your place. The day you understood that heaven had been orchestrating details you could not see. The day your hidden inheritance was not just revealed, but embraced. There is assurance in this moment. Assurance that what belongs to you cannot be stolen by delay. Assurance that what was preserved cannot be erased by opposition. Assurance that divine timing is never careless. You were never overlooked. You were never forgotten. You were being formed. And now, you move forward differently. You move with healed understanding instead of unanswered questions. You move with confidence instead of hesitation. You move with humility instead of insecurity. The inheritance does not inflate your ego. It stabilizes your identity. As you continue walking beyond this day, remember that inheritance is not a single event. It is a lived reality. It unfolds through daily obedience. It grows through stewardship. It expands through gratitude. The more aligned you remain, the more visible its fruit becomes. There will still be challenges ahead. Growth does not eliminate difficulty, but you will face challenges from a different position now. Not as someone uncertain of their identity, but as someone established in it. Not as someone seeking validation, but as someone carrying confirmation. Peace will guard your mind. Discernment will guide your steps. Favor will accompany your obedience. And protection will remain around what has been entrusted to you. Now receive this final blessing. Type IT is secured in the comments as your declaration of divine confirmation. Blessing code 915 is now sealed over your inheritance. May stability anchor you. May clarity continue to sharpen you. May every step you take from this day forward reflect alignment with what heaven has revealed. Let this blessing mark not just a moment, but a covenant. A covenant of confidence. A covenant of courage. A covenant of stewardship. You are not walking into uncertainty. You are walking into alignment. You are not chasing what was lost. You are occupying what was preserved. You are not trying to become worthy. You are accepting what was assigned. And as this message concludes, carry this truth deeply. Nothing about your journey was accidental. Every delay refined you. Every question strengthened you. Every battle prepared you. The secret was never meant to harm you. It was meant to position you. Stand tall in that understanding. February 26th has become your turning point. The inheritance is revealed. The location is known. The heart is healed. The movement has begun. And your future is aligned with what was always meant for you. Walk forward in peace. Walk forward in confidence. Walk forward knowing that what heaven guards, no force can undo, is secured. As this message seals your inheritance, hear this clearly. When you sow into this mission, you are helping countless others discover what had been hidden in their own lives. The word declares that when seed is sown into fertile ground, it multiplies beyond what eyes can see. And right now, God is speaking that promise over you. When you release a super thanks, step into membership, or send your seed through the PayPal link in the description, or the PayPal QR code on your screen, you are not supporting a channel. You are igniting revelation in souls who are waiting for confirmation. Declare it boldly. I will fuel the fire that awakens destinies. Your giving is prophetic obedience, not routine generosity. As you sow, may abundance respond. May protection surround your household. May open doors meet you swiftly. Do not hesitate. Till your obedience. Sow now and step into multiplied harvest.